Well, hey, what do you do? What do you say? Welcome back to another episode of Banditland Boulevard. This is kind of an impromptu one. I got a busy weekend coming up. I'm going to be out of town, and I'm doing this kind of a spur of the moment deal. Uh, believe me, I'll watch the game, I'll follow the game. I'm going to get the highlights going. You know the whole deal. But this is kind of the best way to help it fit my schedule. If I can do the preview by myself, that's what we're going to do right here on Banditland Boulevard. Trevor Hauer here, uh, coming off a week 1 victory, or sorry, week 2 victory, but game 1 victory, where the Buffalo Bandits defeat the Rochester Nighthawks 15-7. And for the first time in this team's history, they are going to the Canadian capital, to Ottawa, to take on the former New York Riptide, now the Ottawa Black Bears. First game for that the band's going to be playing in the Canadian Tire Center, since the Ottawa Rebel days back in the day. So huge game coming up. We know this is, if you read the title, it says bear trapping. Guys, the reason I put that there is not just because, we want to trap the black bears, get the bear traps around the Canadian Tire Center and just start, hoping they can step on them so we can get a good shot at winning. No, I have this being a trap game. I really, really do. Um, they play their best lacrosse against the Buffalo Bandits. We know that. They have been since they became a team in the league. They beat us at home, I think, on a Sunday afternoon game during the 2022 season. They came and beat us. They beat us last year at home. But now under new colors, now under a new brand, we'll see if this is a new team that the Bandits are facing against. But I'll tell you what, man, this team has only gotten better. They did miss the playoffs last year, but they are still that thorn in they have the potential to be that thorn in your side type of team. And obviously we're gonna start breaking down some of the key players to watch and stuff like that. But it's great that they won last week. I already give them a little cushion going into game 2, because if you remember the last couple of years, the band started off 0-1, essentially leading to game 2 to be a must win, because you don't want to go 0-2 to start off a year in a game where there's only 18, or in a season where there's only 18 games. You don't want that. So the fact that they got that one win out of the way, one and done, it's good. The Bandits are 1-0. So are the Ottawa Black Bears. So it's definitely going to be good going into this week, going into this Saturday. And for the Bandit fans that are making it out to Ottawa, hats off to you, because we hope that you're loud. We hope that you enjoy it. We hope that the Bandits put on a good show for you. It's going to be a pretty damn good game. But we are previewing this game. If you want to follow me on Twitter, go ahead and follow me at Trevor's Tweets. Doing a lot of funny tweets during the game, doing a lot of insight during the game. And it helps if we all interact with each other. So anyone who's watching this, anyone who's listening to this, go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Trevor's Tweets. You will see my picture of me wearing the awesome and legendary Mark Stainhouse jersey with the 2024 chicken wing eating trophy. You will see that as my avatar on there. So go ahead and check that out. It's going to be absolutely amazing if you did. And I will follow you back. If you are a Bandits fan, I will definitely follow you back. And even if you're not a Bandit fan, if you're an NLL fan, I'll shoot you a follow back as well. So that's awesome. That's great. 1-0 Bandits taking on the 1-0 Ottawa Black Bears. The Ottawa Black Bears absolutely kicked the living daylights out of the Bandits' Sun in the Toronto Rock in their first game, putting on a great show. I think there was an 11-5 score. Beat them up there. So that's awesome. But, you know, the fact that they didn't make the playoffs gave them another high draft pick, gave them more opportunities in the offseason to make moves, to be a better team. And obviously, looking at them right now, they obviously draw way more fans. They have much more of a fandom up in Ottawa than they did in Long Island, that's for sure. So they got a stronger fan base backing them up. But some of the players to watch, and that's what we're going to jump into right now. Looking at some of the Ottawa Black Bear players, I mean, do I really have to? Do I have to even mention this player's name? Because we all know how good he is. 2022 Rookie of the Year. I'm going to mention him anyway because I really don't care. 2022 Rookie of the Year, Jeff Teat. One Rookie of the Year in 2022 over Tehoka Nanticoke. I'm like, okay, this player's good. We know how good he is. He was nothing short of impressive last year as well. that goal scorer, two-way forward, point getter, goal scorer. He's phenomenal, and obviously has Buffalo ties, as his uncle was a former Bandit. Dan Teat was a Buffalo Bandits player too. Where's number 51? He's 5'10", 170, and plays forward. He can switch hands when he has to. When he scores, he can go from lefty to righty. The home game that the Riptide played against the Bandits last year, what he scored, a sock trick almost in that game, and was a big part of the 15 goals that he scored in Buffalo last year. But obviously, he's my number one player to watch going into this one. Without question, his goal scoring ability, his passing ability is second to none. And if you can limit him, we always talk about limiting on this show. We want, as much as we want to shut down players like Tom Schreiber in Toronto, or Connor Fields in Rochester, or Jesse King in Calgary, you're not shutting those players down. They're way too talented enough to not only find the back of the net, but sometimes make your defenders, make your goaltender look absolutely stupid out there. They're not going to shut them down completely, but if you can limit them, you have a good shot at winning. And this Bandits team, especially the defense, man, if you watch that game last week, the defense has the ability to shut anyone down. So, or not shut anyone down, to limit their stars. So I got a lot of faith. I got a lot of confidence in this defense, but Jeff Teat is the number one circled player. Obviously, looking at the face-off guy, you're going to get Connor Farrell versus Bandits legend Jay Thornbert in the face-off dot. That's going to be awesome to see. Jay Thornbert, one of the best in NLL history as far as taking face-offs is concerned. Definitely looking at him to be a big part of that team, because the more face-offs you win, the more possessions you get, the more chances of going down the field and scoring you're going to get. But it's going to be interesting to see. Matisse is on the team. How can I forget about Kyle Matisse? Right there at transition, 6'5", 230. I forgot Kyle Matisse was on the team. Brent Noseworthy, looking for a physical specimen in him. If you want an altercation, I guarantee you Brent Noseworthy is not one of those guys that you want to run into. I can tell you that. And former Buffalo Bandit, just from last year, a back-to-back champion, Justin Robinson, is one of my players to watch for the Ottawa Black Bears as well. It's going to be interesting to see. I almost won't recognize him. He's going to be wearing the 82 jersey against the Bandits on Saturday, on Friday. And it's going to be interesting to see Justin Robinson out there, how he's going to perform against the Bandits. This is a team that he knows very well. He was in practice with them every single week, despite the injuries and stuff like that too. He knows this team. He knows the ins and outs of this team. So we'll see how he does on the opposite end as he's trying to defend players like Chase Fraser, Tehoka Nanticoke, Dane Smith, Josh Byrne, all those kinds of players. We're going to see what happens, because it seemed like last week when they played Rochester, it seemed like a little bit of everybody outside of maybe Chase Fraser that got a big piece of that goal scoring pie. I mean, they were empty netters, but Paul Dawson and Dylan Robinson, Tehoka was scoring, Josh Byrne was scoring, Dane Smith with 11 points. It seemed like their secondary guys were scoring. Chris Cloutier was scoring. It's going to be hard to stop them all. So it's going to be interesting to see how does Justin Robinson face against his former team. Another guy we got to look at on the opposite side on the forward spot, number 68, 6'1", 195, Larson Sundown. Every single time Larson Sundown faces against the Buffalo Bandits, he goes off on a Michael Jordan Game 6 flu game. Him and Jeff Teat are like 1-2. They're like Dwayne Wade, that one meme of Dwayne Wade going like this with Shaq right behind him. That's like them against the Bandits. And I don't know what it is with the Bandits, but I mean, the old Riptide and now the current Ottawa Black Bears, they always play up against the Bandits, and it always feels like a trap game. Hint, hint to the title of this show, of this episode, bear trapping. Yes, I did that on purpose. It is a trap game because Larson Sundown, Jeff Teat, those types of players, they always play their best game against us. It's going to be interesting to see who's in net too. Cameron Dunkerley, I think didn't he score a goal? Did he score a goal on us last year? I think it was. I think that was him. I think he did score an empty net goal on us last year. Or Zach Higgins. Two goalies that have seen the Bandits a lot. But yeah, going back to the forwards though, I mean, looking at John LaFontaine and Brent Noseworthy and looking at players like Larson Sundown and Jeff Teat, it's going to be hard to limit those. The good news about that is the Buffalo Bandits have a lot of depth on their team where they can match players like that. And they have proven that, hey, maybe some of these games have been very, very close. I think in the Bandits and Riptide slash Black Bears history, I think the Bandits have won twice against them in overtime. So when I keep drilling into your mind that they save their best lacrosse for the Bandits, keep in mind that they save their best lacrosse when they're facing against the Buffalo Bandits. But yeah, the Bandits have a lot of depth to match the talent on offense as those guys. And there was a name that I was looking for too. Former assistant captain for the Bandits playing transition, Kevin Brunell, is on the Ottawa Black Bears as well. Looking at Ron John at transition, 6 foot, 200 pounds, wears number 88. How can we forget about a talented player like Ron John? This all around is a very good team, and they have a lot of potential to do some damage. I remember on the Bandits Nighthawks preview episode when me and Tony were doing it on this show on Banditland Boulevard, we were talking about, man, you know, you talk about sneaky teams that could be around this year. Not just the Colorado Mammoth, the Mammoth who were looking to rebuild last year. Now they start off the year 2-0. They could surprise some people this year, but look out for the Ottawa Black Bears as well, as it looks like what they're cooking up there in the front office and the coaching staff and the roster that's put on the field looks like they have some potential to do some damage in this league. And it's definitely not a team that I'm sleeping on. And if you know this show like the back of your hand, you know that we don't sleep on teams around here because I think in our first season we were a little naive. We're like, the Bandits should be blowing out these guys, and these guys. We've been humbled multiple times. We have adopted and have really gone with the motto that you can never take a team lightly, ever can never take a team lightly. And Rich Lisk, the head coach of the Ottawa Black Bears, will certainly play up to the talent level of the Buffalo Bandits. But news coming out of the NLL power rankings. I know Adam Levy does that stuff all the time on Twitter. If you go ahead and follow him on Twitter as well, he's a great follow for NLL stats, a lot of obscure stats, which I'm a big nerd about. I love seeing like obscure NLL stats, like so and so broke a transition record from 2004. I'm always like, oh, that's pretty sweet. I didn't know that record existed. But yeah, he's a good follow on Twitter. He has the Bandits at number 1 in the power rankings. And I wonder why. Maybe because they won back-to-back titles. Maybe because they made absolute mincemeat out of the Rochester Nighthawks last week, won their first game of the season since the first game back from the COVID pandemic. I think that was Tehoka Nanticoke's first game against the Calgary Roughnecks, the first time they won a week 1 matchup since then. So, hey, number 1 in the power rankings, that's a lot of pressure. I think they put Ottawa at 4. And so if they're big fans of the power rankings, the Bandits have everything to lose right now, and it's only week 2 as far as the power rankings are concerned, but I don't really pay attention to that. I only pay attention to the standings. Power rankings are just second. It's just something for fun on the side to look at. And if your team is at the number 1 spot of the power rankings, it's fun to clown on some Toronto Rock fans on Twitter, and it's fun to clown on some Rochester Nighthawk fans on Twitter, too, that have been talking a lot of crap. And the Mammoth fans, where have they gone? They were everywhere in 2022, and now I can't find a single one. Go figure. Anyways, key players to watch for the Buffalo Bandits going into this week. I mean, he had a absolute beast mode type of game. Marshawn Lynch, running on the New Orleans Saints. I mean, this is that type of game. He had a Michael Jordan and NBA Jam type of game, where the red circle under his player was really, really glowing. He was hitting everything. Stay hot, number 92, Dane Smith. He's going to be my number 1 player to watch going into this game. It's a new building, new area to get used to. But knowing this team, they've seen every type of atmosphere. They play in the loudest type of atmosphere. So the fans aren't really going to get under their skin. I'm not really worried about that. They're going to be composed, collected. like they usually are. I mean, this is what the Bandits do. But if he's going to stay hot, why in week 2? Why wouldn't he stay hot in week 3? Dane Smith is my number 1 player to watch, and it he proves to be that point getter every single week. And in week 2, in the Bandits' first game of the season this year, throws up basically a silent 11 points. I mean, after the game, I knew that Dane had a great game, but he's been having so many of these games where he scores double-digit points that it almost goes under the radar. And it completely went under the radar for me because I didn't know that he had 11 points until maybe the day after the game happened. I'm like, oh, wow, that's a silent 11 points there for Dane Smith. How about that? Very, very nice. So we love that. But yeah, number 1 player to watch for the Bandits. I think he has the potential to do a lot of damage against the Riptide / Black Bears. I got to get used to that as well, calling them the Ottawa Black Bears now. I remember a year, maybe a couple years back when it was the Tucker Out Lymphoma night when they were playing against New York, and Dane Smith and Josh Byrne led the way in the goal scoring department, and Dane got that goal to tie it up at 10 to force overtime with less than 30 seconds to go. When everyone's screaming at the jumbotron for Johnny T to call timeout, Dane Smith just says, "You know what? They're giving me a clear lane to shoot. Let me just wind up and put it in Dunkerley's 5-hole here and tie this game up." And that's exactly what they did. So Dane has very good stats, a very good record in general, very good numbers against the New York Riptide / Ottawa Black Bears. So he knows that team like the back of his hand, just like how Jeff Teat knows the Buffalo Bandits like the back of his hand. So it's going to be pretty good. And another key player that I want to watch is number 95, Chase Fraser, coming off signing a 1-year contract. Didn't explode on the stat sheet as far as maybe a Dane Smith would, or a Josh Byrne would, or a Chris Kluche, Tehoka Nanticoke would in week 2 in game 1 against the Rochester Nighthawks. But he's due. He's due to have a bounce back kind of game. He didn't light up the stat sheet like he should have last week. So here's a chance to redeem yourself. Here's a chance for a rebound. And I think Chase Fraser, knowing that his natural goal scoring ability, knowing that he is a natural goal scorer, physical 2-way power forward, he wants to get on the stat sheet too. And I think the main thing about this team is they don't really forget. They're like elephants. They don't forget. When they lose to a team and it was a game that they should have won, they usually come back swinging the next time around. I remember the Mammoth in 2022. What do they do in game 3 the year after when they face against the same exact team in the finals? They beat them 13-4. What do the Bandits do after the New York Riptide at the time beat them 15-9 in their own house in 2022 and face against them in 2023? The Bandits come all the way back at home and beat them in overtime. So Ottawa will win 1, Buffalo will win 1. Ottawa won the last matchup, so Buffalo should win this matchup. That's kind of how the games have been going lately. And they're usually big goal scoring fests. I believe the last time they faced against each other was 15-13. Chase Fraser had a very good game the last time they played New York, just like Dane Smith usually does. Those are my 1 and 2 players to watch going into this week. Fraser is definitely salty about not lighting up the stat sheet like he should have last week. He'll be back at it this week, and he'll be great. Another key player to watch. This could be for the right reasons and for the wrong reasons. A player that normally struggles against the New York / Ottawa Black Bears is Matt Vince. And Matt Vince, 42 years old, man. He, coming off signing a 2-year contract after winning the 2023 championship. What does he do in his first game of the 2025 season? He holds another team, and a team that's on the rise in the Rochester Nighthawks, to less than 10 goals. That has been the Matt Vince special with this team since the day he signed the pen to the paper on his contract with the Bandits. His thing is holding teams under 10 goals. However, when they play the New York Riptide, when they play the Ottawa Black Bears, whatever you want to call them, Matt Vince usually doesn't look like Matt Vince. I remember one game in 2020, or not 2020, 2022, where they played in Long Island. And did the Bandits win that game in overtime? Was it 18-17? Vince gave up 17 goals there. He gave up 15 goals against the Riptide last time they played each other. He gave up 10 another game. He gave up 15 another game. They yanked him out of a start in one game. I think that was the Sunday afternoon game at home in 2022. So we'll have to see what they do against him. But, every superhero has their kryptonite. And I do think that the kryptonite for Matt Vince is the New York Riptide / Ottawa Black Bears. So, and I think he knows that more than all of us do. He knows that more than any fan does. And so I believe that he's been in the film room. He's been working hard in practice, preparing for this game. So he's my player to watch, either for all the right reasons or for all the wrong reasons. But no matter what happens in this game, we have to know how good of a goalie Matt Vince is and how blessed we are as Bandit fans and Bandit show hosts, Bandit podcasters, knowing that we got 48 in between the pipes. Probably the best goalie in Bandit's history, honestly. No offense to Steve Dietrich, Pat O'Toole, Ken Montour, players like that. But I mean, this guy is, as far as championship rings, big saves, holding teams to under 10 goals, locking it down, especially on the low shots. Matt Vince is up there with one of the best. He's easily top two, if not top one. He's definitely my number one player to watch. And then you got to look defensively as well. Steve Priolo, stay hot on defense. Justin Martin, stay hot on defense. Paul Dawson, stay hot on defense. The transition game's got to be quick too. And we'll talk about that in the keys to a victory. But my number one key to look at here was, hey, smooth transition, right, guys? Smooth transition. Number one key to watch for the Bandits going into this one is fast-paced passing. When you get the New York Riptide / Ottawa Black Bears, and yes, I'm going to keep calling them the Riptide because that's what I've known them as, and we haven't officially played the Ottawa Black Bears yet. So I'm going to remember them how I remember them last time we faced. It's just going to be force of habit. Last time we faced against each other, they were indeed the Riptide, not the Black Bears. I will get better, though, I promise. You catch them on a fast pace, backyard style offense, especially on the power play too, which I'll get into, believe me. You make it fast paced, you go tic-tac-toe. Their defense is not strong enough to outclass, to outmaster, outsmart the Bandits offense. With all this depth the Bandits have in the transition game and offense, if you keep them on their toes, guessing every single pass, which every pass is going to go, keep their head on a swivel, somebody's going to bite. Somebody's going to make a mistake. Somebody's going to get wide open in front of the net. Somebody's going to score. That's point blank, period, bottom line. And we know that a team with Josh Byrne, Dane Smith, Chase Fraser, Chris Kluche, Ian McKay, Tehoka Nanticoke, they have the ability to work a fast-paced style offense, and that is what Johnny T preaches. He runs a fast-paced style offense in practice every single week, so we can expect that to happen. And if you can execute a fast-paced, backyard, fun style lacrosse, you're going to beat this team. You're going to beat the Ottawa Black Bears. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Looking at another key to a game, special teams. I thought this was going to kill us. This was going to kill us against Rochester. Thank God they exploded in the fourth quarter. But you got to finish on the power play. I don't know if, you ran into a hot goalie at the time in the first half last week against the Rochester Nighthawks, but I mean, there was a point in that game where they went on a 5-on-3 and basically did nothing on the power play. What did they go 0 for 4 on the power play? Something like that. I don't have the stats in front of me, but special teams is big. Now, they did a decent job, I believe, on the penalty kill last week against the Nighthawks, but you got to finish on the power play. If Ottawa is going to take a stupid penalty, capitalize on the special teams. Capitalize on the power play. Like I always say, like Tony always says, we have weapons on this team that could destroy the opposition, especially on the power play. We had one of the best power plays in the league last year. Josh Byrne had some outrageous power play points. Dane Smith, outrageous power play points. Chase Fraser, special teams in general, shorthanded goals, power play goals. He did it all last year too. Don't get me wrong. But just something to keep an eye on. Finish with special teams. Kill off penalties, score on the power play. Another thing, face-offs. I know face-offs was a big ask for the team last year, and for all the wrong reasons. We all know why. But you got Connor Farrell going up against Jay Thornbert, one of the GOATs in the face-off game of the National Lacrosse League. We know him all too well, Jay Thornbert, being a Bandits legend himself. We had a couple deep playoff pushes with him, in the trenches, winning faceoffs for us. So we know all about a player like Jay Thornbert. Connor Farrell's got to use his body. He did a solid job, more than acceptable job against the Nighthawks last week. Hopefully he can do it again. And you know, he's got the weight advantage. I believe he has the height advantage too. If he can use his body, get on top of that ball, send it to your defense, set up some good opportunities, keep Jay Thornbert from being Jay Thornbert is what I'm trying to say. And don't let him be that absolute FOGO specialist where he face off, get off, they go down the field and score, and then he does it all over again. If you don't let Jay Thornbert be Jay Thornbert all over you, you should be able to win this game. You should. And Connor Farrell did absolutely exceptional as far as I'm concerned last week against the Nighthawks and ended up being a 15-7 victory over those guys. So big win against them. And Ottawa's this is going to be tough. Friday, December 13th, 7:00 p.m. Eastern time. Hostile. It's going to be a hostile environment for both teams. I can see a lot of Ottawa fans pulling up to the Canadian Tire Center, and I can see a lot of Bandit fans pulling up to the Canadian Tire Center too. It's going to be a war in the stands. It's going to be a war on the field. It's a trap game. It smells like a trap game. I could smell it from here, and I know what you're going to say. You said, Trev, you said that last week against the Nighthawks. I say that because, number one, the Bandits don't ever win their first game. That's usually not what they do. At least the past couple of years have shown that they don't win their first game. I thought it'd be a lot closer, and it was going into the fourth quarter when the Bandits only had a 1-goal lead. They exploded in the fourth and won by 8. I didn't expect that, but this is the New York Riptide Ottawa Black Bears that we're talking about here, and we've never blown them out. I think they've blown us out one time. They beat us by 6. They won 15-9 at home once. They beat us last year, and they also scored a goalie goal on us last year. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But here's the deal. Maybe that was Albany. Was it the Riptide that scored a goalie goal on us? I don't know. We had 2 of them last year happen to us. But, last year was weird, and hey, we came out on top, so what does it really matter? It's going to be interesting, but that goes into the world-famous Banditland Boulevard score predictions. Now, I should get rid of the S on that because it's not score predictions. Score prediction. We will get Tony LaMonica on the post-game show after this Game 2 matchup against the Ottawa Black Bears as well. So I got to cover for myself. I got big pressure on my shoulders to guess the right score and guess the winner of this game. I don't know, man. Looking at Jeff Teat, looking at Larson Sundown, Justin Robinson revenge game, legacy game against the Bandits. You got 2 solid goalies in that organization. You got Zach Higgins, you got Dunkerley in there. Ron John in transition, Jay Thornbert taking faceoffs. Am I going to be that guy, guys? And seriously, am I going to be that guy that picks against the Bandits this week? And don't kill me. Don't crucify me in the comments, please. Do not crucify me in the comments for saying this, but I'm going to type it out right now. And this is my score prediction. Ready? This is my score prediction, and I'm going to show it. I have it right here. I'm going to show it. That's right. You're reading this right. This is not a typo. I will be happily wrong. Don't call me a negative Nancy. I swear to God. I picked the Bandits to win against the Riptide last year, and they broke my heart. They did. Go out. This is their mission. Watch this episode. See that I'm finally picking against you guys. At least in my predictions. I'm rooting for you, of course. But in my predictions, I don't have them winning. And it should say this. Hold on. Let me fix this. It should say this. I have them losing in overtime to the Black Bears. And who's going to score that overtime goal? It's going to be Larson Sundown. That's what I have. That's my prediction. 14-13 overtime. Just look at it. Just look at the writing on the wall. Matt Vince is never good against these guys. I mean, your goal scorers can score against them, no problem. You got to get your secondary guys in there scoring. But I mean, Jeff Teat and coming off of such a high, beating the Toronto Rock 11-5. They're starting to turn it around. They're growing a fan base. They're finally in a lacrosse town. It just seems like a game where, I predicted the Bandits to go 12-6 this year. And we know they're not going to go for a perfect season, or at least, man, if they wanted to, that'd be awesome. But is it likely? No. And I hate picking against them, but that is my prediction. 14-13 overtime. It's got trap game written all over it. And if I'm wrong, go ahead and clown me in the comments after this game. If they want to blow them out, I will be happily surprised. I'll be happily wrong. I c- I'm man enough to admit when I'm wrong. I think that's a good quality of mine. So if they do win, the first thing I will do is apologize to the Buffalo Bandits on the next episode of this show. But please do not crucify me. I do have the Black Bears winning though. However, I can't pick them to win every single week. I pick them every single week anyway, and a lot of those games when they get smoked, which doesn't happen a lot, but those games where they do lose, I look like a fool. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on me again. You will not fool me thrice, especially on my own show, Banditland Boulevard. I can tell you that right now. But that's it for me, guys. It's going to be a great game. I will be out of town. And once again, I apologize that Tony's not here. This is kind of an impromptu thing. So we couldn't get, he has bowling on Thursday night. So we couldn't film Thursday. This is what you're going to get. This is what you're going to get. You're going to get the full post game with the two fellas on this show. So don't even worry about that. This is kind of impromptu. And I think I've done a solo show before on this platform, but they come very few and far between. I do have the Black Bears 14-13 over the Bandits in overtime. But again, happily wrong. If the Bandits want to go over there and win 17-5 like they did against Philly a couple years ago, hell yes, do it. Win, you know what? Might as well win 21-5. Might as well win 29-5 at that rate. But if you are going to the game, have a ton of fun. Dude, I wish I could go to the Ottawa game. Still trying to plan on going to a Canadian game outside of the Toronto Rock. Don't really know which one. I want to go on the West Coast, either or Western than here. I want to go to either Saskatchewan or Calgary. So anyone who's listening, let me know which one I should go to in the comments. But that's going to be it from me and from myself and Tony LaMonica, who is not here right now, but I know he's saying it to himself in his head right now because he knows I'm about to say it. But we got 3 words to end this show with, guys. Trap game in Ottawa. So we got to say it loud. We got to say it proud. Let's go Bandits. This has been an episode of Banditland Boulevard. My name's Trevor Hauer. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter at Trevor's Tweets right here if you haven't done it already. And we will see you after the Bandits hopefully take down the Ottawa Black Bears. But let's go Bandits. We'll see you on the next one, guys. Take care.